Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tier 1 of the Crossplay WOR Championship. We are here at the Portuguese Grand Prix. Last time out, Smokey took victory and took the championship lead for the first time this season. Rusty not racing that one and cost himself that championship lead for the time being. Not only have we got Otis Lawrence racing here tonight, but we have, well, returning Otis Lawrence, I should say. We have a returning commentator for the first time this season. He's well known in the WR community, and that is Joseph. Welcome along, Joseph. I hope you are well and looking forward to this one.
Thank you, Walter. Good evening, everybody. Of course, if you did just check Twitter, you will know about the return of the icon tweet. And in fact, I do want it framed. I want it put behind me. Hopefully that's put Otis Lawrence in his place. I'm joking, of course. But no, I'm delighted to be back. Bit of a late call up. About half an hour ago, I was given the all clear to commentate this evening. And now my computer's crashed on me and I'm scrambling to get the standings back up. It's been a bit nightmarish, but I think we'll get through it.
Yeah, we'll definitely go. We'll find a way. We always will. We will be heading to the game screen very, very shortly. We're just going to go through the standings one bit at a time, and that is Smokey leading the way on 77 points to Rusty with 68, and then Wilson there in third place with 57, closely followed by Cider. And you know what? Let's head out on track because times are starting to come in now for qualifying here at Portugal, and we will go on to the action where we see PSR Wilson. I've just spoken about him in the Red Bull. His teammate Sav in, well, yet to set a lap time, but Wilson in 18th currently because of, well, no one setting it and no one else really setting a lap times. And I mean, Portugal, the Portimao track is renowned to being more of a pad track than a wheel track. So some of these drivers might take a little bit longer to get used to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the grid is predominantly wheel. Otis Lawrence certainly on wheel. He's gone through a few now in his lifetime as he moves up through the rankings very rapidly in the world of F1 esports. And PSR Nick, of course, another returnee this evening, up into P2. I believe typically is a pad driver. He's coming, I believe, from Tier 2 himself. So be interesting to see how he gets on amongst other names.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, typical. Interesting to see how he can handle the pressure, and if he is a pad driver. Let's see how far up the grid he can get. Smokey then. Manager 133. That's clearly a banker lap. I hope it is at least anyway. There's Sav with no front wing. The Red Bull having to immediately go into the pits on his first qualifying lap. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with him, but VSR Axe is on a lap time, I believe, as he heads now down into the hairpin of turn 5. And I mean, there's not many corner names for this track, but the one that I know is turn 8, Samsung, and it can be a real problem. The back end can step out massively as Axe goes through it now, and that can catch people out, even drivers of the caliber that we've got tonight.
Yeah, uphill, slightly off camber as you turn into the right, and when you get onto those worn hard tyres in race trim, it can become a little bit of a tricky beast to handle. But Axe has got around there nicely. He's into the penultimate corner now, plunging in, sort of nose diving as you set yourself up for the exit, which brings him into a flat out final right hand corner. He'll tuck in to the right hand side of the track just to reduce the distance he's covering, and he goes into the top 10 to get his qualifying up and running. Few drivers on out laps, few drivers on in laps. And NVR Lucas, another one I'm watching out for tonight. One in Tier 2 yesterday, was really eager about this part of the season and proving a point for the pace he has. And he set a purple sector 1 according to the game.
Yeah, if you can believe Codemasters in its glory of sector timings, then he's doing a really good lap at the moment. And let's have a look at it as he comes through Samsung and see how close he gets. There's no extra wheel spin from it right there. So he's seeming to take turn 8 with, well, perfect ability through that. And it'll be interesting to see what Lucas can do as he continues this, the lap through. It's purple in sector 2. again. So it's looking quick for the Haas driver and his teammate now. VSR Jack is on, I believe, just come out of the pits to do his first lap. And with this track being so short, I say so short, it's a 1 minute 16 or 1 minute 17 track here. They can get caught out if they don't set like a banker lap time, as there's Lucas into P3. That's a really good lap time for Lucas.
Yeah, exactly. Setting out what he aimed to achieve. This part of the season, I know he mentioned Portugal as a run of good form he hopes in Tier 2 and hopefully even Tier 1 if he gets the opportunity to race like he is this evening. He was quite far down, I believe, the Tier 2 standings, which obviously encouraged him to sort of begin this comeback. And there he is, up into P3 early on here. Otis Lawrence still leading the way, and it was one name I was hoping I wouldn't encounter this evening, but here he is. He's completely within his rights to race, especially when we're often a few short at the last minute. So it's good to see him back, and hopefully he should have some fierce competition.
Yeah, Otis Lawrence is, well, PSR Nick to come back at the same time. That's an interesting one. We are on board with Shazoo Rowan as he comes into turn 5, where we did just see Fabi's back end go completely out of angle, which will not be ideal for him. But yeah, Nick at the end of last season really gave it to Otis Lawrence. So maybe tonight we'll see those two really battling it out as well. But also Lucas, he's not too far off them. Maybe he could put a cat among the pigeons as well. We'll have to wait and see. And it's not all about those guys as well. Shazoo Rowan is a very, very good driver. And I'm sure he's going to be able to put something into that as well. But Fabi, Smokey, the same, just looking at it, Mercedes, exactly the same time.
Wow, that is sort of 1 in 1,000, literally, opportunity. Down to the 1,000th, they are level so far, and it's sort of giving me season 13 flashbacks with Otis and PSR Nick up there, but getting anywhere near the driver that won the championship by, 106 points last season is going to be a great achievement.
Sorry, excuse me. Definitely will be. VSR Jack then coming around the final corner into the start-finish straight to set his first lap time of it all. And it's P2 for the Haas driver. Both Haasses in incredible form tonight. A 16.5 for VSR Jack and a 16.6 for Lucas as well. Well, it's a Haas McLaren sandwich right now with an Otis Lawrence topping, I think is the best way to describe that. If we go down a little bit further, let's see. There was a lot of love for this man in the Tier 1 chat to get him in tonight, and that's Shazoo typical. And into a lap he goes, and let's see what he can do and see if he's warranted of that love.
Absolutely typical amongst many drivers who wanted to participate tonight. I will give a shout out, of course, to Harvey Mallion Half, who is an absolute Tier 3 demon when it comes to Portimao, and I know he really wanted the opportunity to race tonight, but he's in the live chat amongst many others, and it's great to see him around and willing to be committed to be here, but unfortunately what felt he might have been his place has been taken by Typical, but hopefully he races well in that spot.
Let's see what Typical can do then into turn 10 and 11. This can be quite tricky as well if you don't do just enough and use enough of the track going through it. I mean, I'm not sure why I'm talking about using enough of the track or you get hitting the apexes, because I definitely can't hit the apexes like the way these guys can. But Shazoo Typical is doing a good job at the moment, down through turn 14 into turn 15 to set his next lap time here. And is it going to be enough to take him off 19th place for the time being across the line? It's 15th for the time being for Shazoo Typical.
Absolutely. Otis Lawrence now going quickest, going into the 16.2s. Typical, though he is only 15th, is about 6/10 off that lap at the moment, and it's proving to be a very competitive grid here in the south of Portugal this evening. Shazoo Rowan making his way out there again, looking to post another lap. PSR Sav and a Ferrari here. I believe it might be PSR Fern who... No, sorry, he's a bit further around the lap. It was VSRX who he was nose to tail with. A very strange situation there in qualifying. They've got to be careful, the drivers, because you can very easily pick up a 5-place grid penalty for doing that.
And something I was trying to allude to earlier and then just managed to cut myself off is if you don't get a lap time in early or bank a lap in, you can get like warnings and not being able to set lap times later on. So you do want to have at least a banker in so you're not a bit further back. And there's Fabi losing it at turn 14. And that is not ideal for the Mercedes driver, who is still set at the same time as his teammate, which is not great. So let's go on board with his teammate, PSR Smokey, the current championship leader, as he heads through turn 9 and into turn 10. But yeah, these drivers don't want corner cuttings, lap times that they can't produce because they've done corner cuttings or anything like that, because they're going to be further down the order, aren't they? And it's not great.
Yeah, of course. You have your eyes on your Delta all the way around the lap, and you consider it when you're back in the garage, knowing, okay, this is where exactly I can gain time. So having that banker in is really important to be able to do that. PSR Smokey, can he go quicker than his teammate? No, he can't. Our most recent race winner and our championship leader here in Crossplay Tier 1, only 11th after 2 laps.
Not ideal for him at all, but let's see what PSR Fern can do. The Ferrari driver crosses the line to set his first lap time, and it's not enough to take him off the bottom step at the moment, with Shizou Jensen just ahead of him, and that is odd in itself. But Jensen, this season and from what I've seen of him, liken him to LCR, and I can't remember. That's how bad it is. An absolute icon with LCR, and I can't remember his name. That is horrendous of me. But yeah, we'll go back to my brain thought on that a bit later on. But let's go on board with Shizou Rowan, and he can finish a lap.
Yeah, it looks like he's 2 tenths down as of the middle sector, so it would have been a great final sector if he could improve his lap time, but he aborts and comes into the pit lane, and you'd assume he has a reserved set of soft tyres to be able to go again towards the end of the session. VSR Jack has invalidated this one as well, so the driver's 3rd or 4th, they're not able to make too much of an impact here. PSR Wilson, he had just completed a lap fairly recently. He's up into P5, and Skinner and Lucas in 6th and 7th, separated by 2 1,000ths of a second at the moment. Choco a further 100th back, Sav a further 9,000ths back, and it is going to be one of those qualifying sessions where it will come down to every last bit of pace.
Definitely is, and I was going for LCR Leopard. That was where my brain was going. It's more consistency is over raw pace alone. And don't get me wrong, they both in their own right have pace. They wouldn't have been in the tier 1s of WOR if they didn't have pace. But their race pace always seems to produce better than their qualifying pace. And there are some drivers like that, isn't there, Joseph? There's some drivers that are so superior over qualifying pace, and then their race pace lacks, but then the other way around for other drivers. Why do you think that is?
Of course. Well, I think most drivers start out like that. I think I will bring in Otis because he's back this evening. We're allowed to mention him now. He sort of started out, okay, he is unbelievable in qualifying, but when it came to the race, just stepping over the lines, just a little bit inconsistent, making the odd mistake, and now he's pretty much untouchable in what he does. So it all just comes out to setup, I reckon, and just tweaking a few things so you're not solely focused on qualifying, just keeping your head in the game, not letting one mistake get to you, because that is where the argument of consistency comes in. And if you're not performing on every lap, you're not consistent, and that sounds like a boring bit of analysis, but it just comes down to that psychological input, I think.
Yeah, I think you're perfectly spot on with that assessment of it all, really. I think, and also some people just are built for the psychological element of just being in the moment for one lap, while others have that greater focus for a full however many laps this will be, the 50%er tonight. But some people, they've got that focus, but the unbreaking focus for one lap. Anyway, Shizou Jensen coming through. He's down on his lap time by 4 seconds. This is not ideal for him at all. So he's going to have to go again on a scrubbed set of tyres.
Yeah, it looks like he's leading a train of cars all on outlaps at the moment. We've got to be careful not to trip up into each other as Shazoo Jensen gets back underway. It looks like he had enough fuel for 2 consecutive laps, unless this was an outlap that he's on at the moment. His best lap time set on 2-lap-old soft tyres, so you'd hope this one is a lot better for the driver. 15th in the championship, only taken 1 point finish back in Baku this season. A lot more wide open here in Portimao, so he's got to be on his toes if anything was to happen.
Definitely, and Jabraka is definitely on a lap time. He nearly collects a Haas as he enters turn 14, but across the line, and it's up enough to only displace Stonks ahead of him. Who else have we got? Is it McCabe Sam that could very well be finishing a lap time? He's invalidated. Frustrating for him. Shazoo typical then. He's invalidated. And this is the problem I think we're going to get. PSR Stonks, though, through turns 13 into 14 now, with 19 seconds left of qualifying. He's got a possibility of going again if he's got enough time, but he's got to get to that line to do it. The time, well, countdown clock is definitely on, but it looks like it's going to be a lap time that he's going to be pretty happy with. I say that, it's only P16 for the time being.
Crossing the line, I believe this is the start of his flying lap. Kimber has crossed the line and gone 14th. Did he even get to start the lap? Or he might have improved there at the death. I didn't quite catch it. Shazoo Rowan, though, is next to cross the line. Can he improve and maybe clinch a spot on the front row? Nearly. He goes up into third, displacing VSR Jack, who now has to find half a tenth, but he spun around, coming up through the hill, and that looks to be through turn number 12. Disastrous stuff for VSR Jack, who's knocked down one more position as V Fabi pops up onto the second row.
Here comes Otis Lawrence, the man, the myth, the legend, and across the line. Is it going to be faster? It is faster, but only just. It's a 16-2. His closest rival, PSR Nick, now rounds the final 2 corners. He's got an Alfa Romeo ahead of him, and that's going to be McCabe Sam. So McCabe Sam will set a time first, but PSR Nick is the one we're going to be keeping an eye out on. No, we're not. He's going into the pits.
He is indeed. Typical next up. He's invalidated. And then to follow, I believe it is VSR Jack, but he has pit following. That's been Jabraka as well into the pit lane. Stonks, and I think Axe is the last driver around. Can he get himself up into the top 10? He's level on lap time with PSR Kimber. Big lap for Axe, who goes up into 8th place. A great lap there from VSR Axe under a lot of pressure to deliver at the death.
Very, very solid lap from Max there. An invalidation to Stonks means he wasn't going any quicker either. But Otis Lawrence on pole. Was there any doubt in that?
Not really. I mean, he's dusted his Xbox off. He's come back to race tonight, and he's not really playing for anything. He just perhaps wants to prove that even after a bit of time away and adapting to PC, he is still the quickest on the platforms. So, you know, a thoroughly merited pole sitter. As always, it's good to see him back. And so enthusiastic.
I mean, give PSR credit, PSR Nick his due. He was quite close, and actually, I've gone away from the screen a bit too soon on this. But let's Otis Lawrence on pole with Nick in second. Fabi with a wonderful lap time. It's great to see that as well in P3. In fourth, it's Rowan with McCabe Sam with a final lap to push him into P5. Sixth was VSR Jack. PSR Wilson 7th. 8th to Axe. Cider in 9th. And rounding out the top 10 is Lucas. The next 10 drivers are Choco, Sav, Smokey, Nico, Kimber, Stonks, Typical, Jabraka, Jensen and Fern. And it's really weird to say Sav and Smokey in 12th and 13th.
Yeah, Smokey, our championship leader, down in P13, and I believe he commented on his pedals perhaps having an issue throughout his qualifying session, so not ideal for our leader so far.
Definitely not. Let's go down. Let's have a look at the standing. Obviously, we've spoken about Smokey. There's no Rusty tonight, so he's going to fall further down than we thought. Wilson and Cider, and they might not be able to overtake Rusty, but they could get closer to him, which will be good. You know, Rusty at the beginning of the season was near unstoppable. He's obviously having a couple of weeks out, and when he comes back, you know, these 2 races could be pivotal in him winning the championship or not. Shazoo Rowan as well, someone I wanted to point out on. He's currently P8 in there, but he's starting 4th on the grid. This could be a really good race for him to jump up a few spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Wilson. Wilson and Skiller, they both need a P3. Obviously, only one of them can get a P3, but whoever does will go into second in the championship. A P1 and Smokey not scoring means they will take the championship leads. So it could all change tonight. Looking further down the order, then we've seen a few different winners this season, as far as Rowan, who's down in 8th in the championship. He's back this evening. V Fabi, podium back in. Kota. So really, anybody can be up there and contending. Prospect of safety cars and whatnot could mix up the order, but can anybody stop our returning duo of Otis and PSR Nick?
I mean, time will definitely tell for that one. And if they do take a 1-2 here tonight, that would be quite interesting to say the least. But something that we've got to think about here is safety cars. They're not uncommon here. They're not common, but they're not uncommon. You can get them. And also, as close as the grid is to tonight for qualifying, they will spread out a little bit in the race, and the time is off, and I will quickly finish this. There is a chance that the drivers will break off a little bit further ahead, and then they get caught out in traffic on their pit stop. Anyway, Joseph, who's going to win this race?
Boring answer, Otis Lawrence. Yeah. Welcome back.
Welcome back, and you've got a glowing response. Let's get racing then. The timer is off. We're on the grid. We're on 3, 4, 5 red lights at WOR Crossplay Tier 1. And we go. And is it going to be a good start for any of the top two? It looks like a cracking start for Otis Lawrence. Fabi already alongside PSR Nick, trying to get through. If he can, he will do a fantastic job, but he can't do it. McCabe Sam and VSR Jack are battling away in the background as well. Fabi under pressure from Rowan as well. McCabe Sam, I think, has had to lose a position. I'd say that. He's back battling with VSR Jack. There's battling going on down below as well, but I'm not sure which one's going to win. McCabe Sam up the inside into turn 5, and I think he's going to have to concede that position. What else have I missed, Joseph?
PSR Max at the moment, the only driver to start on the medium tyres, and he did reveal that to me and a few others early on. Didn't quite want to disclose it in qualifying unless anybody followed suit. I like it when somebody goes bold, and Axe is doing just that. Over the crest then, down through turn 9, up through turn 10 and 11, the double right-hander. VSRX trying to find a way through on McCabe Sam, but overall it has been relatively clean.
Yeah, clean, quiet, some things amiss. But let's go on board with VSR Jack as he rounds turn 14. He's getting very close to the back end of McCabe Sam. PSR Wilson is also sniffing at the back end of him. You've got Lucas in the background as well, getting very close to Choco. Choco's made a position from the start. Surely not. He's already going around the outside of McCabe Sam, and that is a move for Axe. He's up a second place, and that's quality from him. In the background, we've got a 2-wide attack between Lucas and Choco, but at the moment they're staying in those two positions, even though Lucas lost the position earlier on in the initial lap. But it's all good at the moment, and Otis Lawrence has already broken a second to PSR Nick.
And we've had a bit of a Shazoo calamity at the back as Jensen and Typical have both ran into trouble. They're now down in 19th and 20th respectively. And Lucas, he as well, clobbered the sausage curb at turn 2. Almost had a spin as a result. Smokey almost making contact as the championship leader tries to recover. He's up only 1 so far.
Yeah, and Jensen dropping behind. There's even more problems for those. I'm not going on board with that because Choco looks like he's trying to make a move on Scyther at the moment. This is interesting stuff. Stonk's up 3 places. Fern's up 4. There's a lot going on, but you're quite right in saying that Axe is the only driver who's quite obvious with his overtaking as well. But being the only driver on mediums, that's a very odd one. Otis Lawrence, funnily enough, is the fastest man on track. But this Axe could cause a little bit of a cat amongst the pigeons situation because he's a bit of an unknown pace.
Yeah, he could, and obviously his strategy relies a lot on good track position to try and break away towards the front. And of course, without the formation lap, your tyres are of equal temperature, so the mediums get up to temperature a lot quicker than the hard. So you can obviously make moves on the opening lap, perhaps not as many as he would have anticipated in a strategy, but he's just got to keep it cool now. He can't go too hard too soon on those mediums because he'll be forced into an early pit stop onto hards and be very vulnerable towards the end.
Let's see how he continues. He's got VSR Jack, another VSR driver ahead of him, and I'm not sure if they're trying to work to break the DRS train because they're so close to pulling away from McCabe Sam in P7 at the moment. But I think it will require Axe dispatching of VSR Jack. It's the battle we're going to keep on board with at the moment as they head through turn 14. He's really close to the back end of that Haas at the moment, and I wonder if he's going to do what he did to McCabe Sam a few laps ago, and that is overtake around the outside at the exit of turn 15. He's going to look for it, but will he go for it? No, he's gone to the inside, close to the pit wall, and up and now into P5, and there's going to be a little bit of slipstreaming between the two of them because they their mindset surely should be pull away from McCabe Sam and P7.
Absolutely. Simple overtake for Axe on his American compatriot, and he needed that because he wants to stay in the DRS of the three drivers in front of him. PSR Nick now 2 seconds off the lead of Otis Lawrence. It just feels like a classic season 13 race, to be honest. We didn't actually race in Portugal last season, so we're just making up for it.
Yeah, that could be it. He hasn't had a race here in season 13, so he just wants a podium for his many podiums that he's already had. VSR Nico then picking up a 3-second time penalty, down in 18th, the second driver to get a penalty tonight, along with Typical. Let's stay on board with VSR Axe and see what he can do, because he's going to be the driver that gives us the most action currently.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to keeping an eye on his progress. A few penalties though for Stonks, for Nico and for Typical down at the bottom. Their race looking very much in jeopardy already. Even a safety car won't do them too much good because they're sort of in the train and they'll lose out 3 seconds towards the end of the race anyway. Penalties could be a key factor towards the front. Otis Lawrence, who's had days and days and days of practice on console or PC, knows exactly what he's doing. I don't imagine him getting one in this race, but could one of our outsiders for the podium perhaps pick one up? There's so much to consider as we approach the 5th lap of this race. Still a long way out from that all-important checkered flag.
Definitely, and even a long way out to the pit window as well for these guys. Lucas looked like he was getting very close to the back end of Choco. I think Lucas has a better second and third sector to Choco, and Choco has that ability in that first sector, and I know it's a major straight that helps massively, but he just seems a little bit quicker through there. But Smokey, it must be hard for Lucas to have the championship leader hunting you down, especially for the battle for P10.
Absolutely, every point is going to count, particularly for the likes of Skither and Smokey, who are in and around the position at the moment. As I mentioned just before we started, a P3 for both Wilson or Skither. We'll see them go up into second in the championship, but that at this stage looks very unlikely. So they've just got to limit the damage in this race. Otis Lawrence obviously isn't going to be a threat in the championship, so they don't really need to worry about his progress. PSR Nick, though, he comes back full time at any point. Consider him a name to throw in the hat.
Definitely, especially as he's seeming to be a little bit more Xbox and PC right now. We'll keep a close eye throughout the season for PSR Nick, because he is a very, very solid driver, and obviously second place last time out in the Hungarian Grand Prix, which Smokey took victory for. But PSR Wilson gets close again to the back end of McCabe Sam, but nothing happening at the moment, and this DRS train is causing a little bit of an issue. But there is a break, and that's between Smokey and Sav.
Just quickly, VSR Nico has lost it on the, I believe that looks like turn 7, so a corner before turn 8, and he's got front wing damage as well, so that might have been a collision with another driver. Very unorthodox to do so, but Nico is going to be forced into what seems to be a two-stop now. Hopefully he has 2 sets of mediums available to him. But if not, this looks like it's going to be a full retirement for VSR Nico, which is a shame early on here.
Definitely, it's not ideal, and maybe maybe he'll be able to eke a set of mediums out into a set of softs as well, but that's not an ideal strategy either. Smokey getting close to the back end of Lucas again, but nothing doing at this moment in time. PSR Wilson again close to the back end of McCabe Sam, but nothing happening at this moment in time. And that is something that I think we're going to say a little bit, especially as a PSR Nico here picking up a 5-second penalty and a retirement for him. He's decided enough is enough, and that is unfortunate for him. It's not ideal. It's not nice to lose someone so early in a race.
No, it isn't, and it's going to be a bit of a slow burner, this one, unless we have the old Codemasters thing of somebody hitting a pothole halfway down the main straight and taking off. That might be a bit interesting, but for the sake of the drivers, I hope that doesn't happen. Shizu Jensen, though, is powering on. He's 40 seconds off the pack, but he's on a set of medium tyres, a very dirty looking Williams because of the amount of gravel that's been on it. Just a horrible day so far for Shizu Jensen and VSR Nico.
Yeah, it's I think if a safety car comes out for those, that, you know, it's what I think as a racer, you know, for the ones that do stick out, they have the, if they, you know, they have the safety car come out. It's like karma, the good kind of karma coming back to them, because they've got a second bite at the cherry, so to speak. But it doesn't always happen, unfortunately. PSR Nick and Smokey has a look up at NVR Lucas there into turns 2 and 3, but I think it's unsettled his car a little bit and dropped him a little bit further back. PSR Nick has managed to pull away from Fabi, so Fabi is now the driver that's the bottleneck out of all this.
Well, one Mercedes driver, a PSR Smokey, is trying to make moves. He's been trying on Lucas for a little while now, but the DRS train just not helping one bit. The other is going to have to start fending off drivers as Fabi now has lost touch to PSR Nick, perhaps what we expected early on in this race. And it's going well, in all fairness. No penalties out in front. Lucas still carrying that 3 seconds, which could become a little bit of a problem as the Tier 2 winner from last night. Sorry, we've got a spin. I'm going to cut myself off. It's Stonks, and that again is at turn 12. So a few drivers getting caught out there, just on the traction, carrying too much wheel spin through the corner and having a spin there.
There we go. Shizu Rowan dispatching Fabi into turn 1 as well, and that is the beauty of Nick pulling away is we've had a change for the final podium scoring position. We got Axe as well, whose mediums are still in very good condition, and he's closing on Fabi. Is he going to dart up the inside? Fabi has to go defensive, and around the outside goes Axe. Is he going to be run out of road? He is a little bit, and Fabi holds the position for the time being, but that's Rowan taking full advantage of that and trying to break away a little bit.
Yeah, Axe very bold, trying to go around the outside as well. It would have been very difficult. Those mediums and hards probably at a very similar pace right now, and Axe as well has got to be careful. It looked like he just overstepped the white line ever so slightly. I didn't see his rear tyres. That might have been, those might have been on it, but too many of those. You can pick up 3 warnings and get those all-important penalties, but Shizu Rowan looks like he's pulled the second he needs on Fabi as well, and it looks like he's got into the second of PSR Nick, and though they aren't fully recognised teammates, of course, PSR Nick a reserve of PSR, obviously, and Shizu Rowan a full-time driver. That might be something to watch out for, as VSR X has finally got the job done down the inside at turn 1 on V Fabi.
And this is like blown a few things out of proportion. Rowan getting the fastest lap of the race. Axe now has to use a lot of ERS to get himself back into the DRS of Rowan ahead. And that's what Rowan did, I think, to get in front of Nick. And I wonder if Otis Lawrence saw that fastest lap that wasn't his name. I wonder what sort of thought process is going through that, and now how he will race, and wonder if he will push out a little bit further. Another penalty for Stonks down in P18. That's unfortunate for him right now. McCabe Sam still ahead of PSR Wilson, and VSR Jack just behind Fabi, having a relatively good race by his standards right now, Jack. I say by his standards, that's a bit harsh of me to say it like that, but he's racing well.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're a reserve, the only thing you can do in Tier 1 is come in here and race your best and prove why you are worthy for a full-time seat. And of course, he's now in Parnell Racing rather than VSR, so he's got a huge name looking over his shoulders and um, maybe even tuning in this evening. Who knows? But I know Parnell Racing as a whole very busy over in PSGL, E-Series, and whatever it might be. He's got a great team around him. So all he can do, as I mentioned, do his best, and that's what he is doing.
Now, I believe it was Liam from Parnell Racing I met a few years ago at EGX, but that's neither here nor there. That isn't to do with racing. If it was, he was a very nice gentleman. Anyway, PSR Wilson getting very close to the back end of McCabe Sam. He has a look up at the inside of turn 5, but it wasn't to be on this occasion. And it's getting close. PSR Wilson, I think he's got the speed over McCabe Sam. He just can't find a way through that very, very wide Alfa Romeo right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Every car just becomes double the width when you race around Portsmouth. It's so difficult to make a move, and it would be very difficult to pull off a move at the double right-hander of turns 10 and 11. McCabe Sam defended late there to the outside. It was very easy to maybe even lock up as you pull so wide out there in the corner, but PSR Wilson now looking very racy. He'll have the DRS, but McCabe Sam does as well to neutralise it. McCabe Sam on the ERS nice and early just to prevent this move from happening.
Yeah, looking at it from PSR Wilson's point of view, he's going to get closer, but I don't think it's going to be close enough as they go into turn 1, and that is a safe position for McCabe Sam for the time being. Fabi he was dropping away from the Ferrari of Axe, but all of a sudden it swapped back around again, and Axe unable to catch Rowan. The battle for P3, so the 1.3 second gap for the time being is costing them a little bit at the moment, and I wonder if that is going to be all said and done, and that is how the top 3 is going to look come the end of the race.
Potentially, but PSR Nick charged up quite a little bit of battery. Shizu Rowan on a little less at the moment, but he's done quite a bit enough just to keep Axe at bay, and Fabi might actually consider getting past Axe because he is flashing away now. The Ferrari doesn't quite have enough left in him to push on much further on those medium tyres. He'll be considering an early pit stop soon. Has he taken too much life out of them early doors here?
I think he could very well have done, especially with a few daring overtakes. The one around the outside to turn 15 was quite good, if I say so myself. But again, PSR Wilson trying to find a way through McCabe Sam. This is a battle we're on board with at the moment. It's 0.2 of a second instead of 0.3 of a second like it was last time. But McCabe Sam putting the power down a little bit and pulling away from the Red Bull. And it's all, rosy for them at the moment. But Axe is dropping away from Rowan in P4. We've got a spinner. And is that Jensen? It is Jensen around at Samsung. And I mentioned in qualifying that corner is an absolute nightmare, and it's cost Shizu Jensen massively. It's at the moment.
It's far away from getting lapped by his Williams teammate for this evening, Otis Lawrence, and at that point you lose your lap. You can only get it back if the leaders pit, really, because you can't re-overtake under safety car, so Shizu Jensen might well be considering retirement at some stage here, which would be a shame to lose 2 drivers. But on the whole, it has still been relatively clean. We've seen successful overtakes made. Maybe that's me speaking a little bit too soon, but I hope it does continue.
Yeah, it's been a very respectful race so far. There goes the 2 McLarens in 2nd and 3rd place respectively. Axe maybe losing the back end a little bit as they come out of turn 14. Is it going to put them under pressure from Fabi? Into the pits comes a Ferrari driver, and he's putting on to he will be putting on a fresh set of boots, which means he's going to be doing about 20 laps on those hard compound of tyres, unless he's deciding a 2-stopper is the way to go. No, it is a set of hards for Axe, and he's going to be coming out maybe. No, he'll be ahead of typical, but quite a way off Jabraka.
Yeah, indeed. And in terms of track position, he might well rejoin this race about 4th place when the leaders come in to make their pit stop. But it's just the case of limiting the damage from there. He'll be quite vulnerable on old hard tyres by that point. So Axe's race is either make or break with the consistency of his first few laps on the hard tyres here. And PSR Wilson still trying to make a move. It's been about 2/10 through this section of track, up through turn 10 and 11 for a good few laps. And is this the time that he finally makes it stick?
Yeah, it just seems like he gets very, very close to the back end, but then drops away. I think McCabe Sam just deploys his ERS perfectly as they round turn 15, and it's enough to push him away from the ever-present PSR Wilson, who's now P7 because of the pit stop, to VSR Axe, who's got PSR Stonks for company as well. That might be a off-putting for him. While he has to, the racing away, he has to perform and push good out. Well, he's got qualifying laps for the next 4 or 5 laps on those set of hards to make sure he's still got an option of causing a hindrance. There goes, I think that's MVR Lucas finally being overtaken by Smokey because of a mistake out of turn 4.
That's all it needs. One mistake from the driver in front and you might finally have a chance of making a move stick. But with regards to Stonks, if he tries and makes a move on Axe, he's helping out his PSR friends, Wilson, Skidder as well, his Aston Martin teammates, and giving them a better chance of making up positions here this evening as they both hunt down Rusty and indeed Smokey in the Drivers' Championship. But it looks like Axe has got his tyres nice and warm, and that won't be happening.
No, it's definitely not happening on this occasion for Stonks, but if he can just hold on to the DRS a little bit, maybe he can cause problems for some other drivers when they go into the pits. Defensive goes McCabe Sam. He's under incredible pressure from PSR Wilson as they come down the start-finish straight. McCabe Sam is trying to force PSR Wilson a little bit wide, but he hasn't had the ability on that occasion. He's going to try and fight back into turn number 3, but it's not happening. And finally, PSR Wilson has got through that Alfa Romeo, and he's going to set VSR Jack up in his sights. Sider is next up for an attack on McCabe Sam.
Absolutely. Wilson's done all the hard work of keeping him under pressure, forcing him into using that ERS, and you can see McCabe Sam now flashing away as we make our way into turn 7 on board with the American of Skidder. There's a really good opportunity down into turn 1 or indeed turn 5 that both PSR drivers and 2 championship protagonists can finally clear McCabe Sam.
Oh, he's trying up the inside into turn 11. That was a little bit audacious from Sider, but it's not going to be on this occasion. And he's just going to stick to the back end of McCabe Sam. And we'll look at just a bit further on. I think VSR Jack realises the importance of McCabe Sam being a buffer between him and PSR Wilson. And he's now looking a little bit more racy, a little bit more attackive of the Mercedes in front of him. And I wonder if he'll really push down now. But looking at it, I say that, VSR Jack goes into the pits. Defensive down the start-finish straight goes McCabe Sam. His ERS light is flashing. It's crazy to think that he's used so much to keep ahead of PSR Wilson. And it's now time to harvest an awful lot for McCabe Sam. But Sider is really pushing that Alfa Romeo around at the moment.
Not an ideal exit, and he's not interested in using much ERS down this back straight. VSR Jack, of course, is into the pit lane. Where will he come out? Because, of course, we're considering that battle with Axe. He makes his way back out of the pit lane in front, but he'll have cold tyres for a few corners. Axe late on the brakes, and he might have a look into turn 5. This is an intriguing little battle for the track position come the end of this race. Axe doesn't look like he's going to even consider that a move here either.
No, and that could be problematic for Axe out of all this. There's a yellow flag, and that is Jensen again around and now passed by his teammate.
Yep, lapped by his teammate is perhaps a more brutal way of saying it, but Jensen now no real way back into this. He's got to pit again. Everybody else still to pit as well, so he is net a lap down in this race, but, you know, keep going and something might come to him. V Fabi into the pit lane then. He's going to try and cover off VSR Jack. The first pit stop pit box then for the Constructors' Champions of 2021, but where will he re-emerge?
Yeah, let's. I think out of all that, let's go on board with Fabi as he exits the pit lane. Actually, VSR Jack, as he comes down the start-finish straight, you can see Fabi exiting the pit lane from that camera angle. Where is the Mercedes out of all this? There it is. And he's going to be behind Fabi for the time being, but he's get close to him. But the cold tyres, like you mentioned on for Axe compared to, or Jack compared to Axe, could work in his favour. And look at this. Jack's already had an incredible turn 4, and he's already alongside the Mercedes up into, well, P14 for the time being, and that is an incredible bit of driving from Jack to get himself in front of Fabi.
Yeah, it is, and it's hard because when you're defending after pitting, you're on the inside of the corner when you exit the pit lane, so you're a dozen meters off the racing line and thus have a slow run through the first corner, and the cold tyres really don't help either. So Jack did everything right there to consider all those factors and get the move done. Another spin for Jensen. Just double checked because obviously Otis in the same part of the track. It could have been him. It's very unlikely, but it could have. And Rowan now half a second off of Nick. He's getting closer and might consider making a move. McCabe Sam into the pit lane, the next to re-emerge in this battle.
Yeah, I've just gone on board with Cyber, but I might see where this all pans down with McCabe Sam coming out of the pit lane. Where is VSR Jack? He goes through, so does Fabi, but McCabe Sam might use this as an advantage to him, see if he can stick to the back end. I say that, he's already a second away from Fabi, and that's not ideal for the Alfa Romeo driver, and he's got VSR Axe all over him for company, and that could be Axe trying to make a move into turn 5. Will he think about it? He will not, which is possibly actually better for him. Up to PSR Smokey, who managed to get past MVR Lucas after Lucas's mistake about 10 laps ago now, I think it was, and now has Choco in his sight. Wilson's pulled away from Sider. Sider's obviously had some pace around him because he's managed to close that gap about a little bit to Wilson. But there's it's pit stop territory for these guys, and there goes Rowan, a lap earlier than Nick. Now I wonder if this is going to cost Nick.
Yeah, I don't know about the communication scenario of those two. So Rowan having first choice. He's seen Nick staying out. He has done the opposite, and in he goes onto a set of medium tyres. Skither, Choco, and Smokey all following him in as well. So it'll be fairly orderly coming out of the pit lane. But will Rowan be able to jump PSR Nick and maybe take P2 in this race?
Well, out of all this, VSR Jack has gone getting quite close, but he's still far away from Rowan at the same time. Fabi right behind VSR Jack, and there's Sider right behind. Where's McCabe Sam out of all this? And McCabe Sam's made a mistake.
Yep, coming out of turn 3, McCabe Sam has had a spin. I don't know if it was contact with another car, but what is for certain is that he's now out of this train and could be looking for a no score here this evening. And what a disastrous end to his race that's been. It looks like he's gone into AI, made a clip or something, and he slowed down even more. Scrap that, a complete disconnect.
Not ideal for him. Into the pits then. Oh, wow. PSR Nick, 5-second penalty. That is going to cost him massively. Did Wilson get the same there? I'm sure I saw Wilson's name. I'm not 100% sure if I was right.
He did. Yep. Just check the penalties, and PSR Wilson also getting a 5 seconds for speeding. The race has completely turned then. Wilson perhaps won't have a go on Rusty in this evening's championship context. Otis Lawrence re-emerging, having a little bit of a slide, but he's caught up to the traffic. Will they try and hold him up here, or just play it safe and considering the leader? Wilson exiting the pit lane. Fabi's got to be careful. The wheel-to-wheel on the exit. Stocks has retired. Fabi up the inside at turn 2. All of a sudden on lap 21 it is all become a little bit spicy.
Wow, that was so close, looking from the back view of VSR Jack, and that was so close between Fabi and Wilson. Wilson then does manage to gain, I think, a position out of all that. Otis Lawrence obviously wasn't in any danger at all, but Rowan, interestingly enough, lost ground to Nick.
Yeah, not by much, but that 5-second penalty will surely see Rowan have the position anyway. He's got a 3-second buffer on Jack, so he could just sit back and relax if he wanted to. But of course, that is in no mind of a racing driver. PSR Sav coming into the pits, and unlike his teammate, he doesn't speed. PSR Kimber out for one more, then leading the race, going quite well, quite wide actually, as he might well hit this lap.
Yeah, and you know what? I think this is the first time I've said his name, PSR Kimber, since qualifying. But, you know, he's got to do his race, and he's doing it all right at the moment. Jabraka 7 seconds away from him. PSR Fern's still sticking around. But looking at this, Otis Lawrence is all over the back of that Ferrari and the Alpha ahead of him. So let's see if Otis Lawrence breezes past him or has a little bit of a problem. It's nice to have a look at the leader of the race, to be honest, because we've yet to have it. And there he goes, past PSR Fern. Next on the list, Jabraka.
Otis Lawrence doesn't do a lot of overtaking, perhaps more so on PC since he's moved over, but on Xbox, particularly last season, he found himself up to about 10 seconds in the lead at times. It was ridiculous how dominant he was, and I understand that a few eyebrows were indeed raised at the prospect of him returning this evening. He is a PC Tier 1 driver after all. Fabi, though, now that Jack has got a long way forward to the next car of Rowan, it looks like he might well try and make the move back up into a net P4. PSR Kimber pits. He won't set about to try and hold up Otis Lawrence, who will lead the race again.
And there goes Jabraka into the pits as well and gets a 5-second penalty to boot. Let's go on board with Fabi then, as he looks to try and catch down VSR Jack. He has got those younger tyres. It's only one lap, but one lap, especially on a lot of these tracks on the calendar, one lap is enough to really cost you at the last few laps.
Yeah, especially around a track that requires so much momentum, precision, driving. One slip up through the likes of turn 8, turn 4, as well as Fabi's just gone through, can start to put a little bit more heat into those tyres, and ultimately they do start wearing a little bit more quickly. So just a bit of extra caution through there, try and save himself for the end of this race. VSR Axe has picked up a penalty. He's down in 13th now, so goodness knows what has happened to him, but his race, he's up into P5, having started on the mediums. It has gone entirely the opposite of what VSR Axe was hoping for this evening.
Yeah, definitely gone Pete Tong for VSR Axe, I think is the best way to describe that. And he's now got PSR Sav for company, and for P13. And to say PSR Sav there is quite amazing in itself. But that's the quality of the drivers we've got, especially the likes of Rowan, Fabi, drivers that, and Choco, I'll give Choco his due as well, are up a little bit higher in places than we would usually expect at this stage in a race.
Absolutely. Choco's best finish this season, 6th at the moment. He is currently a net 7th, so he is just one away from matching that record. PSR Smokey, our championship leader, the one behind, from 2 points at the moment, and when your nearest rival isn't racing, it's not ideal. And when he perhaps returns in the coming weeks in France and Bahrain, our next 2 rounds, we reached the halfway mark of the season. Smokey will want to have a bigger lead than he does already.
And there's PSR Fern, I think, making a mistake and causing a yellow flag in Sector 1 to Sector 2. PSR Sav picking up a penalty. That's quite unusual as well, but that is the nature of this track. Lap 24 of 33, we've lost 2 drivers, PSR Nico and PSR Stonks, and Shizu Jensen has been lapped. And that's not me rubbing it in, that's just the way things are at the moment. And yeah, it's not ideal. But France, slightly different track to this one, but still quite short and but a few more overtaking opportunities at the Castellet circuit. So we'll have to wait and see. But Fabi getting closer, ever closer to the Haas ahead of him. But I don't think this lap is going to be the one he overtakes.
I think so, as just bides his time then through turn 2 and turn 3. Fabi doesn't have a lot of ERS to play with, and he's got to watch out for Wilson, because if his overtake goes badly, Wilson will simply just capitalise on that. And In fact, looking at Wilson's ERS situation, it's not particularly healthy either. So the two drivers behind VSR Jack, I'd assume, are looking to save a little bit of battery.
Another yellow flag, and I think this time it could very well be Jensen again. Unfortunately, Fern is retired, or no, sorry, has left the session. That's not ideal for him. Fabi, though, looking increasingly under pressure from PSR Wilson. Wilson is deciding that he's not going to wait around. He's going to attack early.
Yeah, he is. I'm just getting Fern back into the session. Apparently, he's in the Challengers qualification event, which I don't think is correct unless he's got a way to do that one and see how far he can go. And I will mention Challengers because we'll see a lot of these drivers doing Challenges in the coming weeks, as it will run to about May time, we think. And PSR Wilson hopes he will be one of them, as there's a small weave from VSR Jack, who hopes to be another as Fabi closes in. Will he go for it? And it would have been audacious down the inside at turn one. We are now starting to see drivers pick a spot to make a move.
Yeah, PSR Wilson, look how close to the back end of that Williams he gets. Not Williams, sorry, Mercedes he gets, and it's close. But will he dart into turn 5? I think he might. Fabi's have to go defensive. Wilson will try go long way around. Switchback is not really available at turn 5 there, and PSR Nick gets a 3-second time penalty. So that's 8 seconds. All of a sudden, the podium is up for grabs here.
Yeah, it looks like Jack is in range to perhaps clinch that. So this battle for 4th could end up being the battle for P2, unless Nick just goes like hell and tries to extend that gap as much as he can. Really good car positioning, though, you've got to say, by V Fabi to prevent the switchback from happening. PSR Sav, the latest to disconnect. I'll assume these aren't deliberate, perhaps just an issue with the servers. I had a game crash a little earlier on, so let's hope it doesn't get too bad for the rest of the drivers that are spurring on here.
No, it's, we less talked about the servers, the better. But PSR Wilson then, as he goes down the start-finish straight again for the 27th time now, he doesn't get enough space as they go down the start-finish straight. Fabi not able to get close to Jack either, as Choco and Sai, the other two closest drivers. Let's see if Wilson, as they come through Sector 1 into Sector 2, or, well, Turn 4, and then into Sector 2. Again, he's very close to the back end of that Mercedes. Is it going to be enough as they go Willy dart down the inside? He thinks better of it. He's got a slightly different line to the Mercedes ahead of him of Fabi, but it's just not enough on this occasion. And up 27, it's still Otis leading Nick, leading Rowan to Jack, to Fabi, to Wilson.
Wilson, of course, did pick up that 5-second time penalty simultaneously to PSR Nick, so he will drop down, maybe even out of the points here. Lucas still 3 seconds to his name. Is Kimber in range? Is perhaps more who I'm thinking of here, but Wilson will still have to try and make up as much ground as he can. He knows he's in a bit of trouble here, but he might also have it in the back of his mind that might have been a glitch, might have been a bit of contact, or anything that could have influenced his speeding into the pit lane, and thus he might try and get it removed. But he'll have another go here. He's low on battery, but Fabi a good 8 tenths now behind VSR Jack, who might well break DRS very, very shortly. Wilson with absolutely no battery left. Same goes with V Fabi. It's fairly neutral down the main straight. No move to be seen yet.
Both of those drivers were harvesting, the lights were flashing, and it's allowed Cider to get in on this as well. I don't think Jack is using much at the moment, but let's have a look at it as they go down this second straight into turn 5 again. I don't think Wilson, I don't know what how would you handle that pressure with so little race to go? Do you do 2 laps of just saving and then hope you can stay ahead of Cider, or do you just continue using what you've got?
It's tough, because obviously I think the penalty changes a lot with regards to Wilson, but I was just waiting for him, to be honest, to go down the inside there and just completely bin off everything that we were saying. But I don't think he's too worried about Skither and those behind him. There will be communication going on between the two, and therefore this shouldn't descend into any more chaos, but Wilson is still really going for it through every corner. I think he has to at this stage. He's got to try and limit the damage. He's on a run of 2 consecutive podiums in Belgium and Hungary. That will come to an end this evening. Gaining again, he's waiting for Fabi to start flashing, but he pulls to the right-hand side. I don't think he's too interested in making the move there, just letting him know, I'm putting out the slipstream, don't worry.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. We've got Rusty in the chat saying he's happy with the result here. This is good for him. This is good for him. He can come back a little bit. When he comes back, he'll come back strong and feeling it. Sav then popping into the pits, as is McCabe Sam. They're going for the fastest lap for a little bit of pride maybe off that. Jack is doing a good job of holding this behind at the moment as well. Fair play to Jack. He's on the oldest compound of tyres in this battle for technically P3, and it's doing okay at the moment, but he's dropping. I think it's 8 seconds he needs to stay within Nick, and at the moment I think it could be nearly out of that.
It's half a second at this stage, so with 4 laps remaining as Otis Lawrence crosses the line, he's got to do everything just to keep going here, but he has got ERS to play with. Shazoo Rowan has got nothing. VSR Nick down to 2%, so I'm going to say that VSR Jack is in a good position here. We'll start using his battery where he needs it, especially with the likes of Fabi and Wilson still to try and make moves behind him. This is going to be tight to the end. Who will be the 3rd man on the podium?
Yeah, this is going to be incredible stuff. A little bit of a subdued start, a chess game for certain, and it's all changed. PSR Wilson and Siver apparently swapped positions there. We're not 100% sure what happened. I don't think there was a positional change, but I went back on board of it, and the Red Bull was definitely quite far in front of the Cider, so I'm not 100% sure. But it is a chess game, isn't it? So these early doors of the races, it's all about putting something, or trying to, chess game, poker, it's all that strategy style, isn't it?
Yeah, I wonder who out of these drivers has actually been investing in the chess craze recently. It's just everywhere I look in my 6th form, and I know many drivers will be balancing chess with studies. I'm personally not a fan, but I don't think that's too relevant to what we're about to see here. Complete mind games, though, we're right, and it brings us back to the psychological element of this, just keeping consistent, not letting any minor mistakes get to you and cause more mistakes later down the line. And Wilson is finally going for it here. He's on the ERS early, but he's just ran out right at the death, and Fabi has his ERS going as well, and DRS open as well. He's close right up to VSR Jack, who's going to start to feel the pressure. He's now out of the 8-second window to VSR Nick. He's got wide, Fabi. That might have been contact with the rear of Jack, and he's lost not 1 position, but it could be 2 here. As Skither goes to the left-hand side immediately. He's got a lot more ERS to use.
Oh my goodness!
No!
Oh, and it's taken Wilson as well. That's 3 drivers that have been hit, and Fabi disqualified.
He should be after that. That was awful. That was really, really bad from Fabi. Just kept moving and moving and moving. That was really poor by Fabi. That is such a shame to see, because he'd raced really well, and that's just the thing. He made a mistake, let it get to him, and took it out on another driver. That's really disappointing. Wow,
that is... You mentioned it was quite clean at the start, and then boom, this was a punch in the face with that. And unfortunate Fabi, because he's raced really well throughout the season and this one, but that's cost him big time. Not only has it cost Cider, but it's cost Wilson massively, because Wilson's down in 12th and he's out of this session. Is there damage to Cider's car? We'll have to wait and see. I don't think there is. It's not. So that's good for him. And that's just, lap 32, that's taken the sting out of it a little bit, hasn't it? It's a little bit more subdued now.
And Rusty is quite disappointed, because it means that Smokey is scoring, 4 more points than he might have otherwise, as he's up into P6 now, and after qualifying, P13 with what he said was pedal issues, he's done quite well to get back in there in the mix, and he's kept it quite clean himself. Choco up into P5. This will be his best finish of the season. VSR Jack, he finished 4th back in Hungary a week ago, and it looks like he'll stay there this evening. I think that 8-second prospect is gone now, with just 1.5 laps left to go in this Portuguese Grand Prix.
Looks like Sider's definitely struggling. I wonder if there's something wrong. Because NVR Lucas is all over the back of him trying to make a move. Lucas giving us a little bit of action towards the end of this Grand Prix as he's desperate to find a way past Sider, but I'm guessing Sider's tyres must be feeling a little bit hot. Not only hot, but also a bit worn after that skidding across the line. Down the start-finish straight they go. There's no ERS, for his disposal, and it's all gone down into turn one. Nothing happening at this moment in time, and Lucas going to try and find some way through, but he nearly collects the back end, and that's going to allow Kimber through. And oh no, they're still side by side. This is great stuff at the end.
It is, and Kimber, 2 drivers with penalties in front of him, and I do assume that Skither is going to be able to have that 10-second time penalty appealed. We saw the evidence. He was spun right across the face of the racetrack, and so he will get that one removed. PSR Kimber, though, up into the points. VSR Axe has managed to find his way back into the points-paying positions as well, and what was a pretty miserable hard stint on the alternate strategy for him, because so many drivers, whether they're in or out of the session, have gone on to the softs, but I don't think anybody is beating the fastest lap currently held by Jabraka, as Otis Lawrence is already at the checkered flag.
I nearly didn't cross it, but Otis Lawrence, in some sort of style, comes back into WOR and takes victory in his first time of asking in season 14. Rowan then will come home in second, and PSR Nick in third place. 12 seconds separating the top 3 because of Nick's penalties. VSR Jack agonisingly close to the podium. That is mental. And yeah, fair play to Otis Lawrence to come back onto an Xbox console, because it is an Xbox he's using, not the PC. And obviously there is a slight difference between PC and Xbox to do that. Choco in 5th place. PSR Smokey in 6th. Kimber in 7th. Good race for him. Lucas then does come home in 8th place. Sider will probably be higher up after the penalty removal in 9th. And Axe rounding out the top 10. Whew. Well, how do we describe that one, Joseph?
Yeah, I mean, that is going to be a little overshadowed by VFabby and his incident there with Skither Wilson through no fault of his own being picked up from that. He's just asked me, why did I invite him back? Complete force of habit. I can understand why he is absolutely livid at that. It just seems to be never-ending for him at the moment, but Rusty in the live chat, who's joined quite late on this evening, is going to be, to an extent, quite delighted with that one. Still a lot to play for in the second half of the season. Another sprint race to come as well. There are points on the table, but Otis Lawrence, an unstoppable performance, reminiscent of his championship-winning campaign last season.
Now, this is a very interesting one, obviously, Otis Lawrence in delight there. But completely forgot about the WOR versus PSGL event here. The first ever WOR PSGL event. Otis Lawrence won. It was at Portimao.
Yep.
And he's done exactly the same thing here. This is, it's absolute amazing stuff from him. A fair play indeed. And, you know, who's your driver of the day? Because it's so easy to give it to Otis Lawrence because of what happened, because he's gone full out. But who would you give?
It's tricky. I think I'd give it to VSR Jack. I don't think he put a foot wrong in that race, and to come and finish 4th as a reserve is obviously great, especially when all the eyes are on the returning Otis and Nick. I think Jack has done a brilliant job there to hold on. He was just 4/10 off a podium spot, even less, 3/10. So I'll give it to Jack today. Yeah,
it was for me. It was either between Jack or Rowan. Both drivers doing very good. And you know what? Because Jack missed out on the podium, I'll side with you and say Jack as well. But there we have it. That has been our Portuguese Grand Prix, and you know what? It's been a very, very weird one to say the least. Interesting at the start, be just more a strategy. It looked like it was all coming together for one big finale. And you know what? It was a big finale, really, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I wonder who's going to come back. If anybody else fancies coming back from over on PC, you're more than welcome, because apparently you can now. But yeah, Smokey there scoring 6 points takes him on to 83, so he'll have about a 15-point lead going into France. So it is still there for the taking. It's going to be an exciting watch for the rest of the season. I will be around on the sidelines, and I thoroughly look forward to it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for filling in as well this week. It's great to have you in the comms box again. It's been a little while. I know we've seemed to miss each other in other leagues as well, or what have you, but it's great to have you alongside me again.
Yeah, really appreciate that, of course. Worlds as well, the Legacy division. I've been in and out as well, so just to have a different perspective on things from time to time is important, especially on these top tier races. And yeah, they're always a good benchmark to look into other leagues and tournaments, whatever it may be, because Xbox at the moment, cross-play at the moment, is quite chaotic. Lots of talking points, and I assume it will continue all the way till F1's 23's release in July.
Definitely. Well, thank you again for watching, everyone, and hope you have enjoyed, and hope you liked what we saw at the end there, because that was something different. Anyway, we are back next week for the French Grand Prix around Le Castellet. Same time, same place. Let's hope for the same amount of action, maybe a little less controversy, but I'm sure it'll be good nonetheless. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.